You are watching Sound Candy Talk. Watch, share, like, subscribe. Tonight,
Kenya is the most stable democracy in Africa. Kenya is the gateway to the East African market. Kenya is the leading regional financial hub.
Na eneo hii yote Makueni mlisimama imara juzi. Manake maandamano iko kwa sheria yetu. Kama wewe umekasirika, wewe huna imani ni yale serikali inafanya, una haki ya kufanya maandamano.
Mimi nimeangalia na nimeona ya kwamba hii serikali tuko nayo ni serikali ya majabasi.
Naomba niwaambie, ukisimama imara vile nimesimama straight namna hii, hakuna mwenye kupanda kwa mgongo. Unajua hivyo?
Tonight, Sound Candy Talk.
Tunaingia vijijini, mijini na hata jijini kukuletea taarifa mchana kutwa. Usiku tunaketi kitako, tunadadavua tukichanganua taarifa na makala muhimu yanayokuhusu wewe na familia yako. Ungana na Bernard Ngozi kwenye Open Forum Political Show kuanzia saa 4 usiku hadi dakika zake kila siku ya wiki kwenye Sound Candy Talk. Tukutane Sound Candy Talk.
Sisi vile si wote ambao wanataka ugomvi kwa sababu ya ugomvi.
Niwaambia nyinyi ni wajinga mkimfuata Ruto. Mkadhani tunawadanganya.
Jeti ya Ruto. Hii maisha ya Ruto ni stress na ni stress.
Mungu wewe umetukosea.
Sasa tumesema siku ya Jumatano. Uko tayari? Uko tayari? Tumesema sisi si majambazi.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for making time to join us. This is Sound Candid Talk Open Forum Political Discussion Show, the show that gives you an opportunity to air what you feel and think about the latest development on our political front. Well, a lot is happening, and every one of us must work hard to remain on the cutting edge as far as telling the direction of the country and the position you must take as a responsible citizen in ensuring that what goes wrong is made right and what must be done is done in good time. Well, what the Kenyans have been fearing most is about to take place. We said here some time back that the reason why William Ruto is seeking autonomous in selling off parastatals and state-owned properties without the approval or without the need by law to seek approval from Parliament was not in good faith. Well, it's now emerging that 11 parastatals are now up for sale, not privatization, but actually for complete sale. And one of the parastatals that is really, a shock is the KICC, the Kenyatta International Convention Center. The monument that I think has held this city as the center of the same for ages. It was once in the middle of controversy in 2002, 2003, when the NAC administration took over from KANU. It was alleged that the KICC was given to the KANU party as a gift. But Tuju, being the Minister for Tourism then, wrestled the KICC back to the government. as a parastatal and not a private entity owned by KANU. It appears now KANU is back and wants now to sell off the KICC. How and why the KICC should be earmarked for sale, only God knows. Because the management of KICC, I don't know how that becomes a non-profit engagement for any government that is serious, and to an extent whereby that it's making enough losses to warrant for it to be sold off. Is somebody wanting to take over the properties that belong to the Kenyan people at a throwaway price? Is this the scheme? Is this what we were told during the campaign, that hakuna watu walio na shida na Wakikuyu kama sisi wa Kalenjin? Lakini inafika wakati unatofautisha mambo. Unaweka tofauti za jamii kando, unatafuta serikali kwanza. Ukishapata hiyo serikali itakusaidia kutatua matatizo. Is this what is at play right now, or what is it? I call upon you to be on the forefront, calling as many as you can to engage tonight, even as we look critically at what is happening with our great country. Are we going to have a government that owns nothing, runs nothing, except collecting taxes from Kenyans? What will become of Kenya when it sells off its parastatals, all government-owned parastatals? Are we still going to be a country? Are we still going to be a nation governed by law? Or what is it that is happening? What warrants the urge and the quest to sell off what the country could salvage and be able to help even in subsidizing the essentials for the mwananchi? Na kuomba mahala popote ulipo, karibu kwa show, tumia hii link uingie kwa studio ukaseme yako mawili matatu tunapoanza kwa fujo tu, na kuomba tafadhali mahala popote ulipo usichelewe. Kumbuka pia Raila Odinga anaongoza recruitment ya ODM members katika nyanja tofauti, na target yake ni vijana ambao wamehitimu miaka 18. Anasema vijana wakiwa kwa party basi wataleta vibrance. Sasa sijui unaonaje kwa masuala haya? Alafu Simba Arati naye akatoa ya kwake, asema Ruto na askari waache kufanya intimidation and extrajudicial killings in Kisii. So there is an allegation of the killings in Kisii carried out by the police, which are extrajudicial. Haya ni masuala ambayo ningependa pia tukayalenge katika mjadala wa usiku wa leo. Karibu kila mmoja, tumakinike. Na mshukuru Hamisi Rajab, karibu kwa show. William Adilo, karibu kwa show. Engineer Kariuki, karibu kwa show. Kuna Travel with Fred, we salute you. Welcome to the show. Tuni Mahmoud, welcome to the show. Thank you, our permanent secretary. Naona uko mstari wa mbele na kuhakikisha kwamba video inakuwa liked. Dahi Abdi, karibu sana. Salome Amashibo, welcome to the show. Kuna Juliet Musalia, welcome to the show. Flora Mwashi, anasema greed, grand scheme to steal from Kenyans. I couldn't agree any better. I think this is a serious matter that needs to be looked at and, vehemently stood against by all right-thinking Kenyans. How do you get into office and your first assignment is to sell off the assets you found in the office? Are you for us or against us? Chris Mukami, karibu kwa show. We are losing almost everything. Robert Juma, hi to you. Well, as we start out, let's invite each other. Let's make sure that we're on the forefront of making the difference, even as we engage on matters Kenya and what is happening to our country and what we must do to save it from the imminent fall that now looks right at our face. So nakukaribisha tunapoanza, tafadhali karibisha wawili watatu tukamakinike. Namuona Angela Wamboi, namuona Derek Mulandi. Karibuni kila mmoja tafadhali, usitazame kipindi peke yako, na ningependa pia kukumbusha njia tatu za kuhusika katika kipindi. Njia ya kwanza, uko kwa comment section, would type out what you feel and think about this topic of the day, and then of course we'll be able to highlight some of them in the course of the show. The number two way to participate, there is a link we are sharing in the comment section. You click on it and allow StreamYard, the app we are using to broadcast, to configure for you the camera as well as the audio, and it will bring you to this space. We'll give you an opportunity to speak up so that Kenyans can hear you loud and clear. Then, of course, the third and final way to participate into the show is for you to take part into our poll question. And our poll question is on our two YouTube channels, Sound Candid Talk and Sound Candid Talk Live. Simba Arati said, I see you. Karibu sana. Ubuntu. Karibu kwa show. Well, on Sound Candid Talk Live or Sound Candid Talk, both of them YouTube channel, we are asking you the question tonight. Okay, so far at the polling station, Sound Candid Talk Live, 3 votes already cast. Is the sale of Kenya's Parastatals by Ruto in the interest of Kenyans? Is the sale of Kenya's Parastatals by Ruto in the interest of Kenyans? 25% say yes, 75% say no. Let's look on the other side of the polling station, that is Sound Candid Talk, and so far we have we have 43 votes already cast, and the question is still, is the sale of Kenya's Parastatals by Ruto in the interest of Kenyans? 9% say yes and 91% say no. We'd love to hear what you feel and think about the whole scenario. Kwa hivyo tafadhali kwa mstari wa mbele, piga kura yako, lakini kabla upige kura, hakikisha kwamba umefanya nini? Like video, ni muhimu sana kwetu, inatusaidia na YouTube ranking and other requirements by YouTube. And if you have not yet subscribed to Sound Candid Talk Live, our backup channel, please make sure you do so. It is that important. And of course, we need you to be on the forefront of participating in all our shows. So if you miss out on any of our channels, you will miss out on some of the programs that probably would be very profitable for you. I salute every one of you. Let's start from the beginning. Listen to what Zakayo and the team are talking about in terms of why they should lay off the parastatals. The question we are asking, is it in the interest of Kenyans? Let's listen out.
On our part as government, we have taken various steps to revitalize the capital markets. 2 months ago, I did assent to the privatization bill, heralding a paradigm shift in the process of executing privatization of public enterprises by infusing international best practices and, more importantly, cutting off unnecessary bureaucracies that made the privatization process almost grind to a halt, where only one transaction was closed over the last 15 years. Just imagine that. And it was one of the big issues that I really wanted to sort out. And when I went to the stock exchange, I did promise them that the government of Kenya is going to list at the exchange more government entities. Unfortunately, the law became so convoluted that before even we could do that, we had to work on the law first. I'm very happy that we have settled the law, and now we have close to 35 companies, government companies, that some we will be selling outright, others we will be bringing to the stock exchange, and therefore I intend to keep my commitment to the stock exchange and make sure that we use the stock exchange to enable more Kenyans, more Africans, more private sector people to own part of our public entities.
Aya. Nyamira hoye! Nyamira hoye! Naomole! Kabisa! Baba! Baba, nataka nichukue nafasi hii. Mimi kama Simba Arati, Vice Chairman wa chama cha ODM, nikualike hapa Nyamira, Kisii na Nyanza, kwa sababu sasa mimi ndio nashikilia pande hii. Baba, najua kwamba mvua imenyesha, lakini tunashukuru kwa mbaraka ya Mungu. Nataka niseme mambo mawili peke yake. Baba, mimi kama gavana wako wa chama cha ODM, ninashikilia eneo hili vizuri. Lakini kumekuwa na changamoto nyingi sana. Mnataka niseme? Mnataka niseme? Mimi ni mwanaume na nitakufa kiume katika chama changu cha ODM. Wiki 3 zilizopita, Baba walituma magari 6 ya kijeshi kwa ofisi zangu. Nikaambiwa kwamba Simba, askari wameshika doria kwa ofisi yako, tafadhali usije. Mimi nikauliza, mimi ndio nilijiuliza vizuri kwamba mimi ndio the king of this kingdom. Can I really run away from my kingdom? A king dies in his kingdom. And I decided to face the officers. Wananiambia eti wamekuja kupumzika kwa ofisi yangu saa 2 asubuhi. Wametoka all the way from Kisumu. Magari 6 wamekuja kupumzika kwa ofisi yangu nje. Saa 2. Baba, intimidation which they want to cause. The mayhem I'm witnessing in Kisii is too big. Ile fujo naona Kisii ni nyingi. Polisi wamegeuka. Wamechagua vijana kata, wanaua vijana ambao walikuwa wanaitwa vijana wa mboga, ni wao. Boda boda ni wao. Sasa wamejinja kijana mmoja hapo town katikati eti kwa sababu amevalia jesi ya chama cha ODM. Wiki ile baada hao askari kuja town, wameshika kijana mmoja wa pikipiki. Wameua yeye eti kwa sababu yuko ODM na ni mtu wa Simba. Huyo kijana hatujazika yeye, alikuwa anaishi hapa Nyamira. Ni mtu wa Nyaribari Masaba. Mimi nataka niulize, Mimi nataka niulize hii serikali, na nimewauliza, tulipiga kura ikaisha, wakabeba wakatoroka naye, na tumesema kwamba sawa yawe hivyo, lakini haja gani uue kijana eti kwa sababu yeye hayuko katika chama cha UDA? Askari wetu wa umma hapa, sijui vile kuko kule Kisii, wanatembezwa, ni kama hawana akili, kwa sababu wamewekwa uoga. Askari akikamata mwizi anapigwa transfer. Naomba tafadhali, wewe Koome, Bwana IG, sisi tunaomba wewe utahusika moja kwa moja, na tunaomba tafadhali wachana na hawa vijana, hawana kitu, maisha imekuwa ngumu. Kuna kitu sitaki kusema. Mnataka niseme? Mnataka niseme? Mimi nataka niseme hivi. Eti Simba umewekwa, wamefungua faili yako. Eti wewe tunaona hiyo taa yako tutaizima hivi karibuni. Mimi nataka kusema, mimi ni gavana wa Kisii na mimi ni msemaji wa Aba Kisii. Nitaendelea kusimama na watu wangu na wa Kenya. Kwa nguvu ya Mungu tutashinda. Ndugu zangu ambao wako bungeni, nataka niwaombe. Tumekuwa bungeni hapo, maisha ni ngumu, tunaomba nyinyi mtaokoa nchi yetu. Na tunaomba nyinyi mkae ngangari, hakuna mali hii serikali. Hata wale ndugu zetu wa Rift Valley wanalia. Ukienda Eldoret watu wanalia. Hapa Bometi wanalia. Ukienda Mount Kenya wanalia. Sembuse sisi ambao tunaambiwa hatuna shares Kenya hii. Baba, usiangalie nyuma. Sisi kama jeshi yako tutasimama na wewe. Tutasimama na wewe vinoma. Muko tayari kusimama na baba? Hebu nione kwa mkono tafadhali juu. Asante. Kesho nataka kutangaza tuko Kisii.
Okay, mambo ni kama haya. Nashukuru kila mmoja kwa kumakinika kufuata kipindi mahala pote ulipo. Tafadhali tuendelee kukaribishana na tumakinike kuingia kwa show. Tumia link ambayo tumeweka kwa comment section, ingia ukaseme ya kwako. Huyo ni gavana wa Kisii akisua Mbarika pale kwa kusema yale yanayoendelea Kisii ambayo hayafai na yanatekelezwa na wale ambao wanapaswa kulinda sheria. Basi ni kama kwamba nchi hii haiheshimu sheria tena, ama inataka wengi waishi bila sheria. Tumefika ile kiwango, kile kitabu tulikuwa tunasoma shule kinaitwa Animal Farm. Okay, some animals are more equal than others. Kuna wale ambao sheria ikivunjwa wanabebwa juu kwa juu kwa sababu wamevunja sheria. Wengine wanataka kutumia hao walinda sheria kugandamiza wengi ambao wanaona kwamba hawafai. Na wale ambao wamekuwa hapa kwa muda, Bwana Rama na kuona, lakini your configuration is not right, your device is not correctly connected. When you join, if you can hear me, please make sure that you allow StreamYard to configure the camera and the audio. Don't disallow it in any way. If you do, you will not be able to communicate even if we add you to the screen. So the way it is right now, it is reported that your device cannot be connected until you are able to configure rightly. So I will urge you to try again. And when you come in, make sure that you are following due process. Asante sana. Nilikuwa nasema wale ambao wamekuwa hapo kwa muda mnaelewa kwamba chama cha KANU ambacho kilikuwa chama cha baba na mama chini ya uongozi wa Moi haswa, hapo ndipo kulikuwa na hii uhasama wa siasa na uhasama wa vyama. Uhasama wa vyama ni kwamba ilikuwa kinyume wewe kutoka KANU na kujoin chama kingine, na kama ulikuwa kwa chama cha opposition basi ulikuwa adui wa serikali na adui wa chama cha KANU. Na watu wa chama cha KANU mahala popote wangekupata umevalia tuseme sare za Ford ama DP ama SDP na hivyo vyama vingine, basi ungeponea chupuchupu kama unatoroka. Na moja wapo wale watu waliongoza ile inaitwa KANU Youth Wing, ambayo it was now I can comfortably tell you without blinking, it was a terror group in KANU. Okay, one of the key leaders in that terror group of the Youth Wing for KANU was William Ruto, and it appears he is bringing back the old KANU in the pretext of UDA, that if you don't toe the line and follow UDA, then you become an enemy of the state, you become the enemy of the police and every other person. And so Kenyans, my question to you, which I really want you to respond to, is for how long are you going to take this sitting down? For how long are you going to tolerate this without taking action? Because we are losing this country with every passing day. The civility and the decorum that we conducted ourselves in with the Kibaki and partly Uhuru Kenyatta is being lost with every passing day. We are coming up with a new Kenya that we had forgotten about in the 80s and in the 90s. So what is it, Kenyans? Are we still in Kenya, or we have moved to Somalia? Have we moved to another country altogether? Is it that William Ruto is too much for Kenyans, or what is it? Well, let's look at this keenly even as we engage. I salute everyone who is joining, but please, I need you in studio to participate and share your views about what we are talking about. To me, this is terrible. To me, this is terrible. We cannot go back to where we came from, where we were literally a police state. The police was the law was the police, and the young people ran away from police than they ran away from thugs. They ran away from police than they ran away from disaster. They ran away from police at every, imagination of meeting police, especially in the dark. It was unbearable. Why? They will plant something in the pocket, na utalala ndani. All that is being restored by William Ruto, and of course with his UDA now terror group that he wants to visit on people who are not following the UDA madness. I'm calling upon Kenyans of goodwill. Let's rise up and stop this evil before it swallows us all. Let's rise up and stop this evil before it swallows us all. We cannot lose this country because of somebody's ego and because of somebody's madness that he wants to baptize this country and give it a new name that we know not. Let's rise up. Let's speak up. Let us be counted, because we cannot take this anymore. Thank you, everyone. As we continue with the conversation, the link to use to get in the studio is already in the comment section. Thank you for those of you who are participating into the poll question. So far, 7 votes on Sound Candid Talk Live is the sale of Kenya's Parastatals by Ruto. In the interest of Kenyans, 14% say no, 14% say yes, is in the interest of Kenyans, and 86% say no. What about Sound Candid Talk, the main polling station, where we have over 69 votes so far, is the sale of Kenya's Parastatals by Ruto in the interest of Kenyans? only 10% say yes, and 90% say no. We are calling upon you to speak up so that you can be heard. Thank you for tuning in. Let's celebrate each other and let us make our day count by raising our voice against the evil in the land. Thank you so much. Namona Frank ameingia. Frank, vipi? Bwana Frank, hapo basi.
Habari ya leo?
Niko salama, karibu.
Asante sana, mimi niko salama. I want to talk about what you have said. The privatization of those public entities is not the interest of the Kenyans. It is only the interest of the Ruto. And I have said the other day here, the privatization may lead to higher rate of unemployment because majority of the people who are employed in those sectors are going to lose their job. Because remember, in a private company, they don't entertain any kind of which is not giving the profit. And they must come out with the rationalization. To rationalize, they have to carry out the rationalization of the workforce so that they can maximize their profit. So majority of the people who are working with private parastatals are going to lose job, especially the casual workers and those who are not given the duties that may run without performing such duties. So it is not the interest of the Kenyans, it is only the interest of the Ruto. And I have said you cannot build the economy by trying to reshuffle or to reorganize the private, public sectors in the name of maximizing their profit. That employment are going to attract the low taxation, especially the people who are paying tax in those companies or those private parastatals are not going to contribute to the national income, the national income. So that is a factor that shows Ruto is only interested to milk this country, because the moment you privatize a public identity, it means that it is only the company gaining. It is company which has gained the profit, and it is only benefiting the companies. But to the common man or to the government, is going to benefit very little, because what is there, Ruto such public parastatals so that it can
Samahani Frank, inaonekana umekatiwa hewa. Pole, naomba utarejea baadaye. Well, ladies and gentlemen, as we engage, we are calling upon you, please be on the forefront of inviting somebody, reminding somebody that the show is on and we are here to engage because Kenya matters to us, and we must matter because we will fight to recover. Wahenga ambao kizazi hiki hawataki kuwasikia walisema asiye kujua hakudhamini. Serikali ya William Ruto ni kama haijui hizi parastatals zilitoka wapi, ni nini kilifanyika mpaka zikajengwa ama zikawekwa, na kwa hivyo wanaona hizo ni either cash cows, na kama azitoi maziwa wale wanataka wauze, na hiyo kuuza ni kujiuzia kwa sababu wanataka kuzichukua ili wakazifanye biashara ambayo wameshindwa kuifanya kama serikali. So it is giving with one hand and taking with another. It's actually I'm twisting Kenyans and robbing them in broad daylight of what are their assets. I believe part of this parastatals form part of what makes this country what it is. I don't think it makes any sense in the world for any government to begin to lay off and sell off its assets in a time like now, when the revamping of economy is needed, when every Kenyan needs to be at work and working in order to recover. So I don't know the wisdom behind William Ruto and his decisions, but in my opinion, they are misguided. And Kenyans, you either stand up now ama utanyamaza milele. Nakumbuka ile swali unaambiwanga kwa wedding kama kuna yeyote aliye na sababu ya hao wawili wasifunganishwe, aseme sasa ama anyamaze milele. Nafikiria tumefika hapo mahali. Utasema sasa ama unyamaze milele. Kumbuka mambo ni matatu. Haya, karibu kwa show, kila mmoja makinika. Tumlete IG aseme yake mawili matatu ndio turudi kwa Frank. IG vipi?
Salama bwana, jambo.
Niko fiti. Hali vipi huko?
Kwa salama.
Huku tumeuza KICC. Tunatafuta mahali pa kuuza KICC na sijui wewe ni interested party.
Wakinipa fursa. Wakinipa fursa. Lakini hawajasema. Who are the participants? Hiyo ndio shida ambayo iko pale. Swali ambalo tunajiuliza, nani hawa ambao wanataka kuinunua? Hawa jamaa kweli wamefika mwisho. Wamefika mwisho na wanaona kila kitu ambacho kiko tu pale ni pesa. Yaani pesa ndio iko tu akilini mwao, ni pesa tu. Tax, sijui kuuza nini, sijui kufanya nini. Hao ni pesa tu. Ifike mahali wanataka KICC imekaa pale tangu miaka gani? Na serikali ngapi zimekuja KICC ikiwa pale? Hii KICC imekuwa pale. The Parastatals ambazo zimekuwa pale miaka mingi sana na zimesaidia Wakenya wengi ambao wanafanya kazi kule. Sasa sielewi itafika aje wakati huu jamaa anafikiria kuuza. Lakini swali ni moja. Hao wanunuzi ni akina nani? Hilo ndo swali ambalo kila mtu anafaa ajiulize. Na wanaweza tudanganya, kuna wale private investors ambao wanaweza taka kununua, lakini the faces behind how private investors hazitakuwa revealed, lakini ni wao tu. Wao ndio watakuwa wenye pesa. Wanasukuma jamaa, wanaambia wewe enda pale ufanye hivi, pesa ndio hiyo, utakula hiki, na hiki sisi tutabaki nacho. So ni hao tu. Si tunaelewa hata makampuni mingi humu hapa Kenya nyingi sana ambazo zinapewa contracts, kwa mfano za barabara, sijui za nini. The faces behind those contractors, we know them. There are prominent people in the government right now. Wengi. Yaani jamaa hakuna kitu, yani wanakaa ni kama fisi. Mkono ukininginia wanaona next mkono, ukifanya hivi mkono ni next inaenda kuanguka. Haki ya Mungu, huu mkono hauanguki. Vile yani shida hii serikali ni kwamba wale watu ambao wamezingira William Ruto, sijui wanampea advice gani. Wale economic advisors in the name of David Ndina and his company. Yani wakiona tu mahali pesa inaweza toka, wanasema tufanye hivi. Kimchezo tu Moses Kuria aliingia tu kwa hiyo ministry ya ako ministry gani huyu jamaa, hata nimesahau.
I think is it public works or public what?
Yeah. The moment ali take over tu hivi akasema as from you when government services are no longer to be free. Na kweli wali implement. Sasa mimi nashangaa hawa jamaa, yani mkono unaning'inia tu hivi, wanaona mkono unaenda kuanguka. Imefika mahali lazima Wakenya tusimame. Lazima Wakenya tusimame, tuseme enough is enough. Sio kila kitu jamaa ataona ni pesa, ni pesa, ni pesa. Hapana. Hiyo vitu, hizo parastatals zimekuweko tangu. Mbona wasiuze nini? Wasiuze hii KPLC? Hii KPLC ndio mimi ningengoja sana wauze kwanza. Mbona wasiuze? We know the shareholders in KPLC, we know them, prominent people in the government right now. Wengine unasikia wako na shares around 70%. Wengine wako na naitwaje? Hizi concrete poles manufacturing factory iko hapo juu ya Mombasa Cement, ukienda Kitengela hapo hivi. I know that. Tunawajua. Sasa wao wafanye vile wanafanya, lakini wajue Mungu anawaona. Kiboko kitawaangukia mahali ambapo hawatajua. Another thing, tumesema nimeangalia mambo ya recruitment ya ODM. In fact, when they announced this recruitment, inafaa watu wa enroll. Mimi sijui nilikuwa na mangapi kwa enroll, lakini I enroll. Kuna wakati fulani nilijikuta nimewekwa chama ingine, hata nikashangaa. Chama ambayo sijui inatoka wapi. Niliangalia tu nini hiyo, nikaona hii chama nani aliniweka huko ndani. So saizi tuna especially watu wa Azimio and ODM side wa take hii opportunity to kufanya chama kikuwe na members wengi, ndio chama kitapata nguvu zaidi. Nimeona jamaa Simba Arati akinguruma kule Kisii. Yeye jamaa anasema tu yake vile iko. Yeye huwa ajali. This is one guy ambaye huwa haogopi chochote. So hao ndio watu inafaa tupate katika hii chama, and more youth. We encourage vijana wengi wa join party so that chama itakuwa na nguvu. Nafikiri ni hayo tu kwa sasa Bernard, mimi nimefika hapo kwa saa hii.
Okay, asante sana IG, tunashukuru kwa huo utangulizi mzuri na kufahamisha Wakenya. Wakenya wenye nia njema, nchi yenu ni hii, mkitaka iuzwe basi ninyi mtauzwa pamoja nayo. Kama mnataka isiuzwe, msimame imara, mseme hamtaki. Ukweli ni kwamba vile mambo yanaenda sio salama. Wale wanatengeneza sheria ili sheria iwahudumie, huwa kila mara hawafanyi kile kinachofaa, na wanakwenda kinyume na ile sheria ambayo wanaibadilisha ili ihalalishe kilichokuwa si halali hapo awali. Ilikuwa muhimu rasilimali za nchi kulindwa na bunge ili watu wengi wapeane maoni yao kuhusu umuhimu wa hiyo parastatal ama urahisi wa kuiuza. Lakini William Ruto ameenda bungeni akabadilisha sheria. Sasa yeye ndio kusema, akiangalia KICC anasema uza, inauzwa. Akigeuka hivi aangalie Kenya Railways, uza, inauzwa. Akigeuka hivi aone hii maziwa ya KICC siipendi, uza, inauzwa. Na hiyo yote ni kuibia wananchi, kwa sababu hivi vitu vyote vimepatikana kutokana na nini? Kwanza pesa ya taxpayers, zingine zimetengenezwa na cooperative. Nyinyi mnafikiria ni KICC peke yake, okay? Next itakuwa University of Nairobi, nyingine itakuwa KU, kwa sababu hizo list ziko. Ame list 35 of them. So we are not talking about two things. We are talking about somebody who is on wherever he wants to get rid of everything that the government owns. So that, I don't understand, so that he owns the government. Is this a repeat of what we are treated to in history called the Mobutu Sese Seko, that he owned Zaire and everything in it as their president? Is that what William Ruto is up to? He wants to sell KICC but buy it. He wants to sell Kenya Railways but buy it. He wants to sell wherever KCC but buy it. Eventually, everything will be in Ruto's name. will need permission from Ruto to breathe in and then go back for another permission to breathe out. Kenyans of goodwill, let's rise up and stop the evil before it swallows us all. Thank you very much. Bwana Frank, nafikiria umerejea sasa. Sema mawili matatu tukisonga mbele, kisha tutacheza video.
And Mr. Bernard, can you hear me?
Songa karibu na microphone. Uko chini kabisa. Hatukupata vizuri.
Can you hear me?
Yes, that is better. That's better. Go ahead.
So I was saying that the privatization of those public entities and the parastatals is not going to help the economy of this country, because it's only trying to come out with a shortcut so that it can own large shares in those parastatals if they are sold to the private companies. And the Ruto is going to be the main beneficiary of that process. And I want to know why some people like Kashawa used to make noise during the campaign talking about street culture. I want to know, is it now the freedom that you are talking, the freedom of selling public parastatals? Is it now the street culture, or is what? You should tell us what is the difference between now and the former regime, because we used to make a lot of noise talking about street culture. Want to know, are we now experiencing the real estate capture, or we are experiencing what as Kenyans? Because that is the real estate capture. When you see the parliament, what it's doing, everything is approved. Even they don't debate about anything. So Kenyans need to realize now the state is captured by very few by very few criminals who have organized themselves, and they are going to continue coming with some policies so that they can benefit, and they will not allow any debate either in public participation or in parliament, so that they can dictate what they want. And that is what we have to know. And I have said this country is not going to grow economically if some people like Ruto are going to dictate everything. Even those who are saying it's advised, Ruto cannot be advised. It's a criminal by nature, and that guy cannot be advised. And they believe only accumulating yours by any means. So the guy is not advised by anybody. It's the one who trying to dictate those economic experts. So we are not going to see any results. It's only if benefit is going to arrange on how to benefit personally, but not the Kenyans. Secondly, what you have to understand is that as Kenyans, we have to start and fight for our rights, and we should not continue listening to those politicians, especially those are allied to the Kenya future. They are not going to say anything because they are pocketed. They have already abandoned their oversight roles. They forget who have elected them. They are not representing Kenyans. They are representing their stomach. Because you can see, I want to see people like Ilang, where are they now currently? People like the others who used to be settlers for development. If people are trying to dine their localities by the plants, they are quiet. So I want to know where is the development now. They should come out and say people who are just used to these settlers now and then, where are they? So we want to see what those people are doing. I want to see what we can now experience. We have no country, in fact, because there's no rule of law is followed by those people, and they cannot. If you want to govern, you must follow the rule of law. In fact, we have no constitution followed by those people. That is what we have to know. Secondly, I want to talk about what Idea said, the ODM recruitment. In fact, what can help Baba currently is to rely on people like Barada and Baboino. Those are people who can only fight the party and make the party very strong. You should forget about those people like the old people here. In fact, they have no energy. People like Bandi cannot help the party now. And you see what has happened in the National Dialogue Committee because Baba has trusted some people who are not who cannot negotiate effectively. Now the results you have seen, the issue of the electoral injustice has not been addressed in that dialogue. I think Baba could be absent people like Babu in that dialogue, people like Barat. So let us try to. I think Baba can be advised by his advisors. Now it is the time to rely on those younger people like Honorable Babuino, Honorable Caleb Amis, Barat, and the other younger politicians who are so bitches. Those are people who can now deal with Ruto because Ruto want people like Babuino. But people like Alonso now, they are so soft and they are not going to help us. So we have to come up with an alternative. As party, as a ODM, as a member of ODM, I believe Baba should give the young people now time to deal with the Kashagwa and the Ruto because Kashagwa and the Ruto have captured this state. And they need younger people who can use any means to silence Ruto because this kind of diplomacy engineered by Kalonzo will not help this country because Kalonzo believes in diplomacy and for now we don't want diplomacy. In fact, we want to use a military so that we can gain what belongs to us because if diplomacy fails, I think the only alternative is military because where we are going as country, we are moving the wrong direction and the people are just quiet. I don't know where they are doing to hear Ruto. Ruto is not an angel, in fact. Ruto is just it's just a human being. So I don't want why people are trying to hear this guy. The guy should be taught what is right. I want when people just come to his meeting, we are just quiet. Yeah, just take our money, we travel outside the country, 3 days, spend what he has already collected. But when you come back with people, start clapping for the Ruto. I wonder why people are clapping for that guy. The guy is robbing us just silently, robbing without violence. He's using the carrier to raise the tax, now has come to the parliament to sell all the public entities. And I remember Bernard what they said the other day. It is during the time of this guy, Jona, the CBK performed very well. And you can remember the issue of ground agency. It was during that time of this man. So this guy should resign. I want people who are saying the machine should resign. The first person to resign is Jona because has totally failed. Because when you see the people who have died because of El Nino, he has not released the money. And now people are saying Majok to resign because of the errors in the KICC results. What is so paramount? The lives of people or the results. We should give us, make somebody to resign. So this guy should resign because he used the wrong tactics to advise their policies, to advise back during his reign. And you see now what he's doing to the Ruto. He believes all the collection of the money, but he don't believe about the living standard of the people and the way people should earn for livelihood. So I was listening whether these people can say about the Jona, whether these people can say about the Kashawa who was coordinating the whole event. Now we have lost around the somebody lives of people have died. That is all those people have died. So we have lost a lot of things, properties, and the other things, and the people are just quiet. So I want to know why people are quiet. Even MPs are quiet. When you see the MPs from Northeastern, those used to defect to the route now, and then Kenyan, I don't know where are they now. People like the other guy from the Kisumu, the center of the Kisumu, people are dying in Nyanda. Nyanda people have died. And the others like Elijah, those people are just quiet. Where are those people? So what is, we have to understand the Kenyans. Around 75% the leaders who were elected during the previous election, they are not representing the Kenyans. They are just representing themselves. We have very few. We have a very small fraction of the members of the parliament who are trying to represent the people, and that is why you have this problem, because very few, a few of the number which is representing the citizens in the parliament. So anything, whether it's bad or it's good, is going to be passed, whether you like it or not. So as Kenyans now, we have to represent ourselves direct, and I'm saying that the issue of indirect representation in the parliament, that we should forget about that. It is that time now the Mwananchi bunge, the bunge of the Mwananchi to rise now. Now it is only where we can air grievances and discuss as Kenyans. Because when you see people who are in parliament, they are just dictated. They have become a supporting machine. They don't debate. It's only to vote. And it is only from the end court of the party, that is Simba. When Kimani Ichung'wah was saying we have to vote this, all the members of the parliament are just voting for that side. Only we have very few members who are incensed, like the Wamuchumba. That is the only very few members of parliament who are using their common senses. The others are not using their common senses. And we have, in fact, I wish this parliament should be dissolved so that we can have a fresh election where people can represent the interest of Kenya.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Frank. That is very good and excellent. Our parliament has become a voting machine. They are they do what they are told to do. Very sad state of affairs. What makes parliament is when there is robust debate and the conclusion of the matter is sorted out because of divergence opinions that couldn't be resolved because people were freed to think freely and speak up their mind and scrutinize the matter in and out. But what we are being treated to now is an insult to our intelligence and a disappointment to many generations, because how do we have those kind of people be entrusted with our lives? That they are told this water is clean, then they vote for it, it's clean. Nobody takes time to check and find, is it clean? What does clean mean? What has happened to it to become clean? Who certified it to be clean? Where is the scientific proof that it's clean? That is the whole essence of why a parliament exists. To poke holes in every matter so that whatever that is passed, it is failure proof. But what we are being treated to is evil, in my opinion. Evil people who are only, stealing from Kenyans legally. Stealing from Kenyans legally. And it's very sad. Well, as we continue with the debate, we are calling on you, please be on the forefront. Invite somebody, remind somebody, and participate fully into the show. Don't be afraid. This is our country. We have every right to speak up and call evil evil. Don't let anybody intimidate you or force you into dancing the music that is not in tune with what makes Kenya better. We are here to see to it that Kenya becomes better, and it can only become better by bettering the lives of Kenyans. Kenya will never be better than the betterment of the lives of Kenyans. Kenya is not the roads, Kenya is not the houses, Kenya is the Kenyan people. And if there's any policy, any decision, any action taken by any leader that is not geared towards bettering the livelihood of Kenyans, that particular move needs to be rejected. Whatever William Ruto is doing and UDA is dragging this country back to the 80s, which in my opinion is unwarranted, is uncalled for. How do we compete with the rest of the world when we are busy going back to where we came from. You remember the illustration that Uhuru Kenyatta gave at Bomas during the BBI launch. We say, tulianza safari na wewe, tukakubaliana, mimi nikimaliza nitakupatia kijiti. Hizo mbio za kupeana kijiti. Mbia shida yangu na wewe ni kwamba ushapewa kijiti, badala uende mbele, umeanza kurudi nyuma. Is doing exactly that. Returning the police state, returning the killings, the state capture, and now he wants to capture the parastatals and turn them into his personal property. This should not take place under our watch. So let's wake up, let's speak up, let's reject what is evil, stand for what is right. We may not be many, but we are enough to cause the trouble that must be caused in order for us to rectify what is wrong. Quickly, let me just display this particular picture, and then we can hear from Reverend Lala. Kenyans are a very interesting lot. Kenyans are a very interesting lot. Just look at this. Those of you who are watching from the small screen, you may not see it, but those on the big screen, you can see it. Okay, it's a Ruto shocks Kenyans with a 425,000 Kenya shillings belt as he warns of worse days ahead. President William Ruto on Sunday had the internet on fire after he stepped out wearing a Kenya shillings 425,000 belt, which is $2,800 belt, as he attended a church service at Priesthood Fellowship Fellowship Church in Kahawa West, Nairobi. Okay, mshipi peke yake ni karibu nusu milioni. Alafu anasema maisha, mkaze mshipi, maisha ni ngumu, economy ni mbaya. Sasa Wakenya wanajiuliza, kama mshipi ni nusu milioni, alafu unafurahia kusimama mbele ya kanisa kuambia Wakenya wavumilie kwa sababu hali si hali, inakuwa kuaje? Kesi kwenu, mimi mwanzilishi tu. Reverend Lala, karibu.
Asante Bernard, Asante IG, and all the comrades behind the scene. Barizenu, ni another day, another Monday God has made. It is truly a remarkable and a sad day. First of all, I'd like to make my opinion known to my own group, those of us in Azimio. First of all, the very idea that we want to sit on the side and watch the others who did not join us bring the country down so that we can make a point to them that they shouldn't do it again, I think is wrong. I think we should be tolerant of others. They didn't learn their lesson, but I believe they are seeing what is happening. I'm sure they have learned their lesson. So I think it's a high time that we save our republic. Because if we don't, we will finally win, but it will be at a point where we dig deep, deep, deep from under the ground. We shall be a laughing stock. We will be coming from Somali. You know, some of us will take refugees in Somali. Some of us will go do business in Somalia and other places. Okay? That's how low we're going to let ourselves go. When actually we have that power to change things now. That's my strong belief. Secondly, I'd like to comment on Kalonzo Ichung'wah, whatever, report. One of the Azimio plus others, and I'm coming from my point of view, is that Zakayo should not be given anything, okay? Because if we do, all we are saying is that we are a country that will never have a fair election. We will not have a fair election if we don't demand it now. Because to me, the core of the issue is electoral injustice. It's the stealing of election. It's the interference with our election. It's the activities that led to us not seeing even what we did, which should have been obvious opening of the server. If you give those people a leeway, you give them a deal of, clean health to be part and parcel of this government, plus Azimio, is a colossal, this is a big mistake that we are making, that we will live to regret. We got the chance this time to get it right. The only thing that will save Kenya is truth. I don't care all other things. The only thing that will save Kenya is the truth. Look at any democracy, whether the United States, you cannot play around with something called election. You will see the wrath of an American. They have their own issues, but don't touch it. Trump tried. He tried. And even he claimed there was some kind of irregularity in the election. When they went back and counted the votes in the area where he complained, they found that there were only 2 irregularities, and they were for his benefit. Okay? So when it comes to, if we want it right, my brothers and sisters, my fellow Kenyans, UDA, Azimio and others, we must look at our election. And we must look at what went wrong. We look at why we lost so many of our young people. They are dead under the ground because there's truth. I myself inspired them, preached, and told them to go out and stand for truth and justice. How can I go back and tell the same people that are inspired that these guys are okay, let's work with them in the same manner, without repentance, fact-finding, knowing the truth, abiding by the truth, true reconciliation? It is impossible if we do so-called attachment, putting things together in a way that circumvent the truth. We are sending a death sentence to our nation. That's exactly what we are doing. Therefore, it is my stand that whatever went on with that team, the core of the matter is electoral justice. That is what put a nation together. That is what saves a democracy. All these other things are sideshows. And I believe they can be done with elected government that people are proud of. Then they can work on those changes. So the changes now, so-called agreement now, to me, without that electoral justice, is a mistake. That is my stand. And so I would love to hear more of the arguments why this particular agreement solves Kenya's problem, if it doesn't touch electoral justice. Because in my mind, that's why we are here where we are. Or else we'll be having those discussions every 2 months or every year or every 4 years. That means that we should not even go for an election because it is useless. And we can see the product of that useless process is this parliamentarians who are there to sign anything. They don't care about you, people. And I think it's high time we do what West Africa are doing, get rid of all this group if they can't go by the truth. But I believe that there are enough of them there that will say no to any process that circumvents the truth. We want to know the truth. The Kenyans must be able to handle the truth. I think we have not been handling the truth very well. We want the truth, but when we face it, when it comes to us, we don't know what to do with it. Why do we want the truth if we can't handle it? We must be willing to handle it and say no or yes based on that truth. So this dilly-dallying around the whole thing and the collecting people here and there and doing this and that will not work. Ruto is not a presidential material. If he was a president, the first thing he should have done was open the server and validate his win. He did not. If he's a true material, he should not be lying to Kenyans every single day. And so, you guys who are interested in money, some of you are useless. All you think about is filling your pocket, betrayers and Judas. We don't need that anymore. Kenya is at a state where it has to be saved by truth and justice. That is the only way. Or else you will not have even a safe home to sleep in. All those young people out there, they are coming for you, you parliamentarians and others. They will come for you. There's no stop. So it is important to do the right thing when we have the chance, opportunity to save our nation. I don't know how you see things at this moment, but we are at a very critical stage. Anything that leaves Ruto in power takes us way back. And so, me and many like me, we cannot compromise our election, because when we do, we lose our democracy. And when we lose our democracies, then we will split into little Kenya. We're going to have a Kisii government, we're going to have a Luo government, a Luo government, and most of the time we're going to be fighting against each other. And you know what? The Western powers don't care about us. Places like ICC are useless, a part of racist system that really don't care about the black life and life that we have. When our people die, nothing is spoken. They do nothing. They say nothing. But when some of them die, all of a sudden, the focus is there. Kenyans, we are the ones to save ourselves. Nobody is coming to save us. And saving ourselves means looking Ruto in the eye, looking at your neighbor in the eye. If you know they are doing wrong, tell them they are wrong. If a pastor is preaching a lie, tell them they're preaching lies. We have to be correct. If you're religious, follow your religion, because it's about truth, it's about facts, or else we are building on a soil that is weak, on a sand. We are not building a solid foundation, and we know what happened. The homes will die. And finally, look at El Nino, what is done to our people. Look at what is done to our people. There is no noble cause of a government or any government, a challenge for any government than to protect the people, than to give hope to the people, to develop the people. When a government is not prepared for El Nino, but the warnings were there. The warnings were there. And then El Nino comes. People are not prepared. Yes, the people dying with no preparation at all. And nobody has been arrested. Nobody has resigned. And here we are talking of a government. And Kenyans are some of them are okay with it. Let's wait till they will go on their own. They were not going on their own. You're waiting till your son is dead, your daughter is dead, till you're poor, you go to bank account. In other words, you're shooting yourself. It's a high time Kenyans get together and get rid of these terrible people out of the way. It's the time. It's a time either going for back to election or opening the server and finding the true winner of this, the last election. But we can't wait till 2027. It's going to be the biggest mistake that we can make as a nation. So my call to Wakenya wenzangu, wakati ni sasa. Si kesho, si kesho. Kesho utakuwa na nchi. Kesho utakuwa na mashule. Kesho utakuwa na pale pa kununua vitu. Hakuna kesho, ni leo. Na so wale wenzangu ambao wanasema let them do maandamano, let them suffer till there's no other time. The country will be gone. You will not have that home. Those children of yours will be looking at your face and no, you'll not have it. Because if things are not working, El Nino has proven to us. What do you think of other essential services, the banks, and all these other things? Look at the oil issue. It's impacting even the revenue in the country, even going to be worse. So the country is coming to a halt, a dead end. When some of us are still talking about, let's now not talk about who to blame, where to blame. Let's put our energies together and demand what is right and call for what is right. The nation is looking for each one of you. And God is counting on all of us to do that basic thing. And that is to demand truth, which we want for our kids, want for our families. Why can't we demand it for our nation? Lastly, of course, I'm saying last, I'm a pastor, okay? That's my calling. I'm a pastor, even though I work as a psychologist, but I'm a pastor, okay? And in my pastoral calling, I'm called to speak truth to power. I'm calling to see God as the supreme, not government. And so my call is to pass to states and nations and others, and calling them to respond to the call of God. The call of God is for us to live righteously, to love justice and mercy, and to do what is good, that which is right in front of men. That's my calling as a pastor. And so for me not to call on Ruto and all of you that are supporting him, it would be neglecting my calling as a preacher. So I don't see any peace for the wicked. It doesn't exist. There's no peace for the wicked. And so if you want our country to go the rough way, then let's do nothing. And so I think it's a high time that all of us begin to think in terms of doing something. Every hand must be on the deck. And I use that illustration carefully. When you are in a boat, you can't walk out because there's sea all around you and things are rough. You stay in the boat and everyone does what it requires for that boat to sail. The captain or the head of the boat, whatever the owner of the boat will say, every hand on the deck. If you know how to row, you do it. If your job is to just pour water outside, throw the water that is filling the boat, you keep on using a little mug, even whatever a spoon. You make sure you remove the water. Every hand has to be on the deck. Kenya is sinking. And God is expecting us to save ourselves in this boat that we are trapped into. We have a wrong person whom we can do something. We are not helpless. And we talk like we are helpless. The Kenya's gone. Things are not. We are not helpless. We are only helpless because we are fearful or we are corrupt. We love Ruto's money. But if you love God and you love Kenya and you love people, and if you are not afraid, then we got to approach these powers and tell them enough is enough. This country is larger and bigger and better. It's worth getting back. And we can do it. We got the numbers. And so I want to appeal for some of you who have given up, that Ruto has taken over. That means you've given up on your constitution. Because there's nowhere in the constitution where it's told that Ruto is powerful than all of you. Sovereign power belongs to us, not to him. And so it is our quest, our determination. It's you and me coming together. You and me doing something will get rid of this guy out. But if you're waiting for somebody outside, they won't do anything. The ICC and others, they don't do anything. That ICC is toothless and it's only geared to a certain group of people. And we say this, it is used to keep certain powers in place. But as long as you are the Mobutus, as long as you're the Rutos, if you can do their bid, they make sure you stay in power. And that's why these West African coups are saying, no, we can't just be listening to this guy tell us who to lead us. Why do they love Ruto? They know exactly what he did. What happened? They know what he did. They know exactly what happened. Why would they love him? Why do they love Mobutu when they're killing our people and doing all these things? So we have a group, I'm talking about all the Western powers, but we have people in that system that want us that way. And just today I was looking at some historical pictures where in 1948 in the University of Oklahoma, the first black man to attend that university could not sit with white people. Put on the side, you see a black man on a little corner somewhere because it was allowed to sit with white people. You know what? That's exactly how we are treated. Democracy is, we are put somewhere because we can't belong to the democratic system. We have our own, in other words, we don't want to hear us talk about democracy. Democracy is supposed to belong to them. They don't want what we have. They don't want us to use what they have. Okay? Because they know it's working for them. When they are honest with their democratic process in their election, they are okay with it. But you know what? For us, kill ourselves. Let Rutos and Mobutus continue on. We support them. ICC termination. nobody died. No African died. Our people did not die. When we know very well, I got a young man I support. He got bullets in his life. He traumatized. He was dragged from the house with his mother, beaten in Kondele. The young man just sat for his examination now. He's traumatized. I'm going to support them financially. And you're telling me that means nothing? No. Kenyans, let us open up our mind. Let us see what needs to be seen. Let us get our country back. I can go on and on and on. Let me stop there. Leonard?
Okay, thank you, Reverend Lala. That is extensive and good indeed for us to reflect on. The justification of what is wrong perpetuates the wrong, regardless of how convenient it may look like when it's being appropriated. There was a reason why we call them what, the elders or the people of the past did not compromise on reprimanding, especially the young people, whenever they did something wrong. Some of the punishment visited on those who crossed the bar were almost inhuman. And some people in this generation will find that as barbaric. But there was a reason why there were those were dire measures to keep the society in order. There is everything wrong with us when we begin to find excuses for what is wrong. The truth is, if you can steal the presidency, what else can't you steal? And just emphasizing what Reverend Lala has said, what we are talking about, stealing the presidency and stealing the election, is not anything new. And it's not anything that is not known. From the information I have, the NIS know who won the elections. The DCI know who won the elections. The KDF know who won the elections. The police know who won the elections. What we are doing right now by sweeping that dirt under the carpet is what we are using to bury this country once and for all. Let us not deceive ourselves. The moment I steal and I get protected, I will steal again, I'll get protected. Stealing will no longer be a sin, neither will it be illegal. And so this needs to go down to all, especially the security apparatus in this country. Is your conscience alive when you hold that gun and shoot demonstrators defending what you know? That's not right. Would you go home and sleep? Are you able to afford to sleep that you kill an innocent person defending the guilty? That you cut short a young man's life defending criminals? I think we need to get our act together as a country, or let's just choose to forget this country once and for all. And so as a people, we have a choice to make, and that is Kenya to be Kenya for all Kenyans, or be left for the thugs and for the thieves. And for the rest of us, we go and find elsewhere to go. because what's going on in this country is annoying. I remember, I think it was 2017, after the elections went the way they went, I posted something on Facebook about I'm ashamed that I'm a Kenyan. And some of my friends did not take that lightly. But I think what is going on right now, if you still have got your conscience and you're in right state of mind, you have every reason to be ashamed you're a Kenyan. If this is the kind of Kenya you want us to admit to belong to. I don't want to belong to a Kenya of thieves, of thugs, or Kenya of getting away with anything and everything. I don't want to belong to a Kenya where we know that our leaders have stolen, our members of parliament have stolen, our governors have stolen, stealing is our culture and is normal. I don't want to associate with that kind of Kenya. And so tonight, even as we go deeper into the debate, I really want us to agree as a people. Will we continue justifying the unjustifiable, defending the undefendable, or we will dig our foot on the ground and say enough is enough, let's get our country back. The only way to get this country back is make everybody obey and follow the law. If we have some people who are exempted from following the law, let's forget this thing called Kenya. We go and do something else. IG, we're coming for you. Don't go now. Sorry about that. All in all, what we are saying is simple. If we don't return to the rule of law, we don't have a country, we don't have an agreement. The contract between us and our leaders is governed by the law. The etiquette of our leaders is governed by the law. The responsibility and obligation of our citizens is governed by the law. Now, when the law is no longer the issue, then we don't have a contract. We don't have a contract. We are not under obligation to honor any of our pledges, including paying taxes and, of course, supporting the government. If the government that is in force is not supported by the law, it is not according to the Constitution, and the person sworn into office is not legally into office, then we don't owe him anything. He doesn't owe us anything. And that is why Kenyans need to revolt and begin to demand that their country is not for thieves. Their country is not for thugs. Their country is not free for grab. Well, I want to play maybe some 2-3 videos, and then we get back into the debate. We are already getting into the home stretch, and you are still there. You have not come into the studio. Please make every effort and get in before it is late. The poll question we are asking tonight is the sale of Kenya's Parastatals by Ruto in the interest of Kenyans. The polling station Sound Candy Talk Live, our YouTube channel, has 12 people who have participated into the poll, and of the 12 people, 8% say yes, 92% say no. Okay, you say whatever Ruto is doing in selling our parastatals is not in the interest of Kenyans. On Sound Candy Talk polling station, let's look at what Kenyans have said. 123 people have participated into the poll, and of the 123 people, 11% say yes, it is in the interest of Kenyans that Ruto is selling the parastatals, and a whooping 89% say no, it is not in the interest of Kenyans. So if it is not in the interest of Kenyans, and you can see Kenyans express themselves on the same, then whose interest is William Ruto serving? In whose interest is he acting? What bidding is he doing? On whose behalf? Now, if the majority of Kenyans are not in agreement with William Ruto, who put William Ruto in office? How did he happen to get into office if we have almost over 80% constantly voting against William Ruto. Who is this that put William Ruto in office when the majority of Kenyans are not in support of him and neither in support of his policies? Let's listen out to this shortly, and then we can get back to other people submitting. And if you're still waiting to get into the studio, please make haste and get into the studio in good time. Don't wait until it's late, then you begin to fight to get in. Now let's listen out to Kenyans as they vent their frustrations about their country.
Wenyeji wa kaunti Elgeyo Marakwet wanamtaka naibu chancellor wa chuo kikuu cha Moi Professor Isaac Kosgei kuondolewa kwa sababu ya usimamizi mbaya. Miongoni mwa malalamishi mengine, kwa sasa wakazi wanaandamana wakitaka aondolewe. Gabriel Kudaka yuko kule na tunaungana naye mubashara hatufahamishe kwa kina zaidi kinachojiri katika sehemu hiyo. Kudaka, karibu sana kwenye NTV Dhuhuri. Hebu tufahamishe ni kipi kinaendelea kwa sasa?
Na asante na kwa sasa tuko katika eneo la afisi kuu za kamishna wa kaunti ndogo ya KICC, kaunti wa Uasin Gishu, ambapo kumekuwa na maandamano na wenyeji wamekuja hapa kuwasilisha malalamishi yao kirasmi kwa kamishna wa kaunti hii ndogo ambaye William Langat. Baadhi ya mambo ambayo wanataka kushughulikiwa ni kwamba kuna kucheleweshwa kwa kulipa mishahara wafanyikazi kando na usimamizi mbaya. Lakini wacha tuwasikize. Je, mbona leo mkaamua kuandamana?
Kwa majina naitwa Richard Tarus. Mimi ni mmoja kati ya wale ambao ni opinion leaders katika sehemu huu. Mimi naye ni mmoja kati ya wale ambao tumeifanya mkutano na Vice Chancellor wa chuo kikuu cha Moi. Na kuanzia hapo nyuma kidogo, wakati alichaguliwa kuwa Vice Chancellor wa chuo kikuu hiki, kuna mambo ambayo alikuja akakuta kama imekuwa tayari inaendelea, lakini mpaka saa hizi hizo vitu hakuna. Kwa mfano, wakati Vice Chancellor mwenye alienda alikuwa ameleta millers yenye nashaka mahindi katika chuo kikuu ndani, na ni mill ambayo inafanya kazi mzuri. Lakini wakati Isaac Kosgei alikuja, mpaka saa hizi tukiongea hiyo mill hakuna mpaka saa hii. Tumetamata wasi ile shamba yenye university walikuwa kilima eka 600 ya mahindi, mpaka saa hii point moja saa hizi hailimwi. So ni shangao kwetu ama ni fadhaa kwetu, maana wako na mill ambao wanashaka mahindi. Watashaka mahindi ya nani kama hawana mahindi ya kushaka, kama hawana mahindi ya kupanda? Ya pili, kuna apple palm ambao walintroduce juzi, na hiyo tukapokea kwa njia mzuri. Lakini wakati apple palm ilipoletwa, akakuja akatoa watu kutoka kwa hata departments waende fanya kazi kule. Kufikia kule wakaenda kafuta kazi 48 casual laborers at once. Na sisi tukasitika, tukakuwa na huzuni sana kuona kwamba hii chuo kikuu cha Moi ingekuwa ni sehemu ambayo ingetusaidia kwa mambo ya uchumi.
Asante. Na jiko fupi tu, suluhu ni gani?
Suluhu kulingana na vile wenyeji wanasema, kwa majina naitwa Kimtai Kirui. Masuluhu kwa wenyeji wamesema wanahitaji msimamizi mkuu mwingine, Vice Chancellor mwingine university, kwa sababu huyu amewezesha kusorotesha uchumi ya wenyeji. Unapata kwamba baadhi ya watu wengi ambao wameandikwa katika chuo wanatoka hapa. So hata ile remittance ya NHIF, remittance ya loans asifikishwe katika penye anatakikana. So watu wengi wako CRP. Ya pili ni kwamba wanataka watu wao ambao ni casuals for 25 years, 15 years, 10 years wawe confirmed permanent. Na wale casuals wengine ambao wamefutwa walipe ridhaa pesa zao. Mwisho ni kwamba kuna baadhi ya watu ambao juzi baada ya huyu jamaa kufika mwaka 2, mwaka 1, mwaka 3 wameandikwa permanent. Ilali kuna watu wamekaa hapa 25 years, 25 good years, wameenda nyumbani bila malipo yoyote.
Asante. Ni baadhi tu ya malalamishi ya wenyeji wa hapa. Nakumbuka kwamba mwaka 2016 wanasiasa wa hapa waliongoza wenyeji kuandamana ili kumtimua aliyokuwa kaimu chancellor Profesa Laban Airo. Na kwa sasa wanasema kwamba wanajuta hatua ile ya kumtimua yule kaimu chancellor Profesa Laban Airo. Kwako nitakujuza mengi baadaye.
wakati unaofaa. Sasa tutawatangazia wakati ambayo tutakuja kurudia mchezo tuendelee.
Kenyans of goodwill, that is what's happening, and that was, I think, Elgeyo Marakwet and Cabernet, where there are those dissenting voices, and all of them not in support of the current administration. But one of the surprise move right now is this tweet by the economic advisor to the Ruto regime. Those of you can see it. This is David D. Anasema 3 things I will not be party to: defend or take collective responsibility for. 3 things I will not be party to: defend or take collective responsibility for. Number 1, lies and taking the public for fools. David D amenawa mikono yake kwa hilo. 2, he says corruption. He say hilo pia mimi sipo. Then 3rd, he says vomiting on the people's shoes. Vomiting on the people's shoes. Now, this is the key economic advisor to this administration. We can take it from that posting there that he's speaking from the point of information. Point of information means he's not guessing anything he's talking about. He's not trying to figure out what's going on. He has come face to face with these 3 things, okay? These are the 3 animals that are the pillars of the Ruto administration: lies and taking the public for fools. 2, corruption at all costs, and it must be defended, including by Ruto himself. You saw the way he came out, guns blazing, defending the corruption with the oil saga. You saw him defend everything questionable about his administration. He will defend, even when his name is not mentioned. Then number 3 says vomiting on the people's shoes. That means not being grateful or appreciating and valuing the people. Now, that is something that Kenyans need to think about. As we reflect on this, let's also look at this other one. This one is a reporter, and it's reporting that Mombasa Apparel, I can't see clearly. Let me just get it from where is originally posted so that it is read out clearly for you to understand. Okay, here we go. It's a Mombasa April EPZ Limited has given a notice to closure and non-renewal of employment contracts to all its employees effective 23rd December 2023 due to redundancy. The company based in Jomvi, Mombasa, has about 2,600 employees who will soon be rendered jobless. The punitive taxation is rapidly taking effect on businesses and is being rumored that more such EPZs will shut down and relocate to Ethiopia. So that's what you're faced with. So 2,600 people will be joining the job seekers corner by the closure of the EPZ in Jomvi, Mombasa. And all of that is Ruto's policies. All that is Ruto's decisions. All that is Ruto's actions. Just to revisit the issue of the Kasese Uasin Gishu residents about the vice chancellor. You remember when the vice chancellor was Professor Airo Aluya, who was in charge and running the Moi University. You saw Mandago and the other Rift Valley leaders claiming during the Uhuru Kenyatta administration, they said there is no way they will allow an outsider to be the vice chancellor of the Moi University. It is theirs. It should be presided over by their own. And so Airo should be kicked out and Kosgei to be brought. So Kosgei has been brought. The university is almost closing. I think it has closed twice or thrice. They're just trying to resuscitate it. And now see the outcome. They are now up in arms. They say Kosgei must go. And there is the other group saying Airo should return. Now, this is what we cripple with as a people. When we put tribalism over intelligence and capability and competence, when we all consider it's our own man, a man from our village, our wherever, what is it called? Mutuetu. Look at what Mutuetu is doing. Moi University is a prestigious university in terms of the kind of people it has produced. My bro is a graduate from Moi University, and it has generated, or rather produced, great people in this country. But what are we turning it into? A laughing stock. All of it on the altar of my tribesman. This one is ours. It can only be led by our people, the people from our village. Well, that is what you get when you trade competence for tribalism, when you trade excellence for mediocrity, when you pick those that should be put in prison and give them the keys to the safe of the country. All in all, let's keep talking. Thank you, everybody. Let's participate. Reverend, you can say one or two things on the same, even as we go further. I see people active on the comment section. Please, let's be on the forefront. Na kama unaingia studio, we have like, it's already 34 minutes, or rather 26 minutes to 1 a.m. East African time. We'll soon be winding up. And so if you have what you want to say and you want to get back, I mean to talk, to speak to Kenyans, come into the studio using this link. Reverend, come in, please. Thank you.
Bernard, I may be having a lot of noise here, but
And your camera is really betraying us. We can't see your face.
Okay, hold on.
One more octave. Okay, I think there is a bit better.
Yes, Bernard. I think Kenyans must stand. They must be counted. It's a time for us to get this tag of tribal, I would call it a demonic, a demonic activity that has it's almost captured a big chunk of us. When we only think tribal, we don't think beyond our village. We don't think of Kenya. And we want, at the same time, we want to be Kenyan. We want to have the joy of being a nation. Yet in our operations, we are our village men or village women. And especially when we have leaders who are governors, those who went to school, but they think that's small. To me, that is I'll call it demonic, because it is illogical. It doesn't make sense. It is dangerous. And many of us have been locked in that kind of thinking. And that is what is wrong, even with us right now, for not getting back our country, because we are thinking small. And I pray that we begin to think big. If, let's say there's an invasion, Tanzania invade Kenya or Somali, I'm sure we'll go for it, because we are threatened that our homes may be the next, taken over. But we don't see what we are doing right now to our nation. We are letting a man take over our nation. Actually, it would be better to bring in another president from another country if they are right in their thinking, if they are doing things right way, to be our leader, instead of allowing somebody like Ruto to run the nation when we know exactly it's not right mentally, it's not right, morally, it's not doing things the right way, and we are watching the destruction of a beautiful nation, and we do nothing about it. It's like we are helpless. I think it's wrong. So when we see noble people like Labanairo, from a great man, and if you don't know Bernard, I think Airo now is in the Easter, and I think was voted the best, vice VC in the country. I think I read something like that. And look at where Eldoret is right now. Look at where Ruto, is taking our nation right now. In other words, leadership is not confined to one village or one tribe or one place. The leaders that God has given to us, they come from everywhere. Right now, we know one we have come from Bondo. I'm not from Bondo, but we know we believe in him. We give up, it's an example of a good leader, and that's why we voted for him. But what are we doing? We're allowing someone who did not win to stay over there, and then we claim to have a constitution. What constitution is that if it cannot help us correct the problem? We have to negotiate outside the constitution to try to rectify things. Now, let us act on our constitution. People with moral character. Let us come as Kenyans and say, no, this is what fighting for, this fight getting, this country. And let us not be so divided by those demons of tribalism. Okay, they're demons, they're spirits. And let us see ourselves as God's children. If we believe in our constitution, a national anthem, then let nothing come between us that is evil, like what we've allowed to operate between us. Let us come together. And you know what? There's something called holy war. Islam call it jihad. In the Bible, it is called a Nazarite rite. It's the same idea. The Nazarite was something that one can be born a Nazarite, or somebody can take a vow of being a Nazarite. In other words, you believe that some things ought not to be changed, or there's some obsolete that you live for. And in Christianity, we have fasting, we pray, trusting God to change events. Actually, it's making us more sensitive to the Spirit of God because we believe what God is saying. So we want to join in that mind of God. That's what fasting is all about, making us sensitive to the voice of God. And so, yes, so that call for a holy war and not the one to kill people just for the sake of killing people, but standing for what is right, a vow of a Nazarite. Okay, in the Bible, it was done by people not shaving. Samson was a Nazarite. The hair was long. The power was in the hair because he was holding on to that vow of being a Nazarite. And I think God is calling us to that, where we look at certain absolutes. If we want a nation that is functional, it must be ruled under the rule of law. We must have a constitution that has got certain power. If I steal, I should be prosecuted. If I fight, I should, face some consequences. But in Kenya is where people are free. All you need is money. You buy power. You buy the judges, and the judges are with no shame. They're in there and collecting bribes. I've been out for a little longer time, and one time someone came from Kenya, and I was talking to this person, and I told him of a great young man I knew, and he was a great guy. And then the guy told me, that guy's not great. I gave him a bribe. Okay? And sometimes when they come out here, some of those leaders, and they drink a little bit, you talk to them, they kind of begin to talk about riots in the country. And so we have a country that cannot be let go. We got to pray back God to help us in this. We are not a Christian nation, but we are a nation supposed to be ruled by the law. We have a constitution, and so it is important for us to adhere to that constitution. But constitution alone will not do it unless we have Washuja. All of us, men and women, will say, no, this is our nation. Or else, Bernard, I heard you talk of, you said you were ashamed of Kenya. Now the question is, tunajivunia nini? Majivuno comes when you've got something to show. Okay, got your nation to show, to sell to somebody. What can I sell to someone here? Okay, what can I go and tell a businessman about my nation? What can I tell the tourists to come and see in my nation? Okay, when I know they're not safe, when I know they cannot bring their money here and change it to Kenyan money and expect to get it back on their way out, I would tell them, keep your money and come and just change what you need, okay? Which is not good either, because it's simply because I don't trust my nation. Sasa wa Kenya wenzangu, all the power is in our hand. God has given us a beautiful land to love and to do the right thing. If somebody is competent, like Airo, and you let him go, you see what happened to the Moi University, and see what is going to happen to Kenya. We selected, we chose the right leaders. They got in there, look at what happened. And God is warning us so that we do something. Because to me, this is not a constitutional crisis, okay? This is simply fear. Because Kenyans can say, we want our constitution to work. We want to know who won. And there's nothing Ruto can do. But right now, I'm even thinking of our institutions, the police and the military and other security side. The question is, what alleges do they have? Is it to Ruto or to the constitution? I think there's a confusion there. If I become the president today, I've got to show a new oath to some of these people. Because the leaders, some of them should be court-martialed because they are acting outside the law. That's what they're doing. When they can't obey, they can't look at the constitution, they do exactly what Ruto tells them. Look at the parliament. Ndugu yangu Bennett, look at the parliament. Look at men and women that we thought went to school that could help us. We thought they understand the law, the constitution. They're supposed to have read the constitution, and this constitution was promulgated very recently, and so they should be able to know it. And it's not a volume, it's a very small book, and they know the information. Look at what they are doing. An act of betrayal, an act of treason, because you're abetting the rule of law and leading a country away from the constitution. It's exactly what they're doing. So these people are not for the constitution. We don't have the constitution. We have Ruto and Rutoism. And we have thieves, looters, and robbers running the show. And we are depleted every single day until somebody can stop it. And finally, I live in a city called Cleveland, Ohio. And most Kenyans know somebody called Al Capone. This was the guy who controlled crime in Chicago, in America, primarily. And this guy was so powerful. But you know what? A police officer from my city, from Cleveland, was the one who brought him down because he believed in the law and was willing to risk it to get rid of that man called Al Capone. It takes a brave woman and man to bring down disorder and restore order. It takes you who is willing to sacrifice. And if there are more of us, this is an easy job. It's an easy job, we can do it. But we have to be willing to sacrifice and do it. And finally, for my Christian brothers and sisters, that man called Gandhi. Gandhi led India to its independence, and Gandhi read the Bible very much and wanted to be a Christian. I think he told also Chambers, he told them, you know, I love your Jesus very much, but I don't like how you treat each other. I don't like your characters. In other words, in Gandhi's mind, faith, Christ was perfect. But the problem are the people who are not following and living according to the dictates of the word of God. And Kenya, we have erred. Some of us have become too spiritual. When they hear Bernard, the preacher, talking about politics, they think it's not on the way, the right path, when actually they are the one who is the right path. Could read the Bible. Go back to read the Bible. The Bible was for justice. Faith that works is dead. And so please check your conviction, check your text, check your faith, check it, and you'll find out that to be a true servant of God is to side with the oppressed, those who are going through a tough time, is to reclaim God in the marketplace, is to speak the truth and to tell leaders that you are not on the right path. And therefore, my faith and Kenyan Constitution work very closely. And therefore, as I uphold my faith, I must also have faith in that Constitution, and I must work towards its place at the center. Naomba wenzangu kupale uko nyuma, Mungu anatupenda, ndio amekupatia wakati huu ili tupigania hii katiba yetu ambayo saa hizi sijui iko wapi, imeraruliwa, lakini you have a copy. Na hiyo copy yako tulete. Let's bring all our copies and put it at the center and say, you know what? As for me and my house, I will trust in the God. I will trust in my constitution, and I will stand against all those people, all those parliamentarians, all those judges, and Ruto, because we believe in the right cause, the right time at this time. Okay, I'll step.
Thank you, Reverend Lala, for that call. We believe the message is home. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for always being here and participating into our show, ensuring that your voice is heard and your opinion is clearly spelled out to the ears of Kenyans. And we pray also to their understanding. Okay, let's look at the poll so far on Sound Candy Talk Live. 2 hours into the show, 15 votes is the sale of Kenya's Parastatals by Ruto in the interest of Kenyans. 7% say yes, 97% say no. That is on Sound Candy Talk Live. Let's look at the other channel, the Sound Candy Talk. 148 people have cast their vote. We have 97 likes. Over 50 people did not like the video. Please, we need you to like the video. It's important. It's the sale of Kenya's Parastatals by Ruto in the interest of Kenyans. And on this particular polling station, 148 votes, 11% say yes, and 89% say no. Is not in the interest of Kenyans. Now you can see the majority of Kenyans are not in the agreement with what William Ruto is doing and what William Ruto is planning to do. Probably I'll just bring in this chart so that we can reflect on it together. And that is, sorry, shortly, let me do a video instead before we do the chart, and then from there we can begin to call it a day. Here we go. Sorry. Okay, let's bring the video first. I'll have to rudi kuangalia your chart, and then we analyze it. We get out of your note screen sharing. We need to do cancel share the screen. We need to get the video. Sorry about that. Too many things at hand. Okay, quickly, let's get this 2 quick videos. I hope this works.
Lakini my friend, utashangaa sana. You will be surprised. Kwa sababu mfalme wetu si mfalme wa muongo, si mfalme wa uongo. Hawezi kutuambia kwamba hii ndio njia mbadala ya kuweza kufika au kurithi ufalme halafu he has something up his sleeve. He knows what he's talking about. He's not a lying king. Lakini katika nchi yetu, taifa letu, ulimwengu wetu, tuna viongozi wafalme malkia ambao kazi yao ni uongo. Actually, we are soon making history as the #1 most lying nation. Isitoshe, corruption is coming in a close second. Mfano mzuri sasa hivi, sikiliza sauti natoka upande huu. Wengi wenu nafikiri mlipata shida kufika sehemu hii, kwa sababu njia hii imefungwa. Padre wetu msimamizi wa parokia hii asubuhi hii ameniambia kwamba kuna mawasiliano yalikuwa hata kabla ya hizi tamasha ziko huku upande huu wa kushoto wangu. Isitoshe, mchungaji wetu mkuu askofu ametoa maombi kadhaa kwamba at least make the church accessible to our Christians. Listen. Hao ndio wafalme tunao, na wengi wao ni Wakristo. Ndio maana juzi hapa Ijumaa nilisema hivi, Mahatma Gandhi alikuwa anapenda sana, he was so much admiring Christianity, but akasema kwamba I love the Christianity, but I cannot be a Christian. Kwa sababu gani? Look at how we treat each other. Are we kings and queens to each other? We have very few king and queenships. The rest, the majority, are king and queen goats. Imagine, ukiitwa mbuzi kwa sababu umekosa ile dhana ya kuwa Mkristo, urithi ule ufalme. This is our nation, a nation, corrupt nation. Kings and queens wanting to amass wealth as possible.
To the plight of the people. The Speaker, how deceitful can we be? How can you go around the country promising hapless Kenyans, poor Kenyans, heaven, and yet 6-7 months down the road, you come up with a bill that essentially seeks to choke them to death? The Speaker, how can it be possible on earth, the Speaker, that a government can forget about the people, the very people is supposed to protect, and turn around to actually kill them, literally, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, it is also the first time that I've witnessed a situation where a bill is being introduced in this House, and somebody, a head of a political party which is in power, issuing threats, open threats to members of parliament, that unless you vote in this direction, you will see. That unless you vote for this bill, you will be in problem. That unless you toe the line, you will know who I am. Mr. Speaker, in which country are we living, Mr. Speaker? If this is not dictatorship, what then is dictatorship, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, going through this bill, Mr. Speaker, what is that on?
There's a point of order from your colleague.
Honorable Speaker, is it in order for the minority leader to mislead the House that His Excellency the President has said that if you do not pass the bill, you'll know who I am? Can he be able to substantiate those claims, Honorable Speaker?
At no time did he mention
it is actually Tinga that said that, Honorable Speaker.
Order, honorable members. Avoid unhelpful insinuations. The honorable minority leader at no time mentioned the President. He probably is meaning Ichungu or somebody else. Let him continue with this argument.
Mr. Speaker, as usual, I will ignore the Honorable Soro. Mr. Speaker, going through this bill, you see an attempt to not only ridicule the hustlers or the poor Kenyans, but to actually kill them. Why do I say so? Mr. Speaker, we all know that this country lies solely on fuel and petroleum products. Every facet of the economy is driven by fuel and petroleum products. And therefore, the moment you set out to increase VAT on fuel and petroleum products from 8 to 16%, you essentially mean that the cost of living is going to skyrocket automatically. Everything in life is going to become more costly, Mr. Speaker. And then you go ahead and remove tax on aircraft, choppers, and spare parts for those funny items. Equipment that are only bought or accessed by the who is who, by the very rich in this country. On the one hand, you overburden the poor person. On the other hand, you lessen the burden on the rich person. So what logic is this, Mr. Speaker? Mr. Speaker, I would have expected, having heard the regime lament that they found empty coffers, I would have expected, and any first-year economics student will tell you, that the logical step the regime should have taken was to rationalize the budget, and cut off those areas that are not necessary. But what do you see? The budget has now increased by about 80-something billion shillings, over and above last year's budget. But the increment is driven by consumption. You see the money allocated to the office of the president, the money allocated to the office of the deputy president, the money allocated to the office of the prime cabinet, whatever. Monies that are going to service consumption, to host banquets, to buy flowers, to buy tea. Mr. Speaker, this is a perfect case of a regime which is living on a different universe, not on earth, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you can go on and on. Take the case of the housing levy. Up to now, including an alleged very killed my good friend, Honorable Kimani Kuria. Up to now, they have refused to define what this animal is. We do not know whether it is a levy, it's a tax, it is a fine, it's a penalty. Nobody knows, Mr. Speaker. And then they come here and want to tell us that they have reduced it from 3% to 1.5%. Mr. Speaker, they have even worsened the situation now. The situation has now worsened because the cap which was there initially of 2,500 has been removed. Now they have targeted even those who are earning bigger salaries more. Now they have attacked the low person, the middle person, and the higher person. Mr. Speaker, let me tell you, in the village where I come from, we have got public servants. We have got employees who have toiled for years. Some of them are left with about 5 years to retire. They have got their own houses, which they have built through different schemes. You want to tell them to part with 1.5% of their pay, Mr. Speaker, to deposit in a scheme who nobody knows the intention about. Mr. Speaker, if you did just basic calculation, this 1.5% of an ordinary primary school teacher salary, he will need not less than 200 years to be able to acquire a house. And yet this person is retiring in 5 years' time. So tell me, who is he saving for? Who is he buying this house for? Is his grandchildren, great-grandchildren, or who? Mr. Speaker, nobody is coming up to give us answers to those very basic questions. And yet, to that poor Kenyan worker in the village, that 1.5%, which you are forcing him to fork out, can mean a difference between starving to death or surviving. The Speaker, that poor Kenyan worker in the village, or even here in Nairobi, depends on that 1.5% of his salary to put food on the table for his children, to buy a uniform for his school, for his children, to pay school fees for his children, to actually pay all the bills that he incurs in his day-to-day life, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, this is one of those schemes. In fact, I would want to equate it to a pyramid scheme. Mr. Speaker, this housing levy, or whatever they call it, is a perfect case of a pyramid scheme. And Kenyans must say no. They have already said no, resounding, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you can go on and on. You can go on and on. Look at the case of poor Kenyan women and girls, and including even boys.
You, Baba Raila Amolo Odinga, no one in this country, if it were not for you, Baba Raila Amolo Odinga, no one in this country would know who Edwin Sifuna is. Huyu baba alinichukua nikiwa kijana mdogo, miaka 35, akasema wewe unatosha kuwa katibu mkuu wa chama. Kuna mwanaume mwingine anaweza kufanyia vijana kazi kama hiyo Kenya hii? Huyu baba hata nikitafuta kura Nairobi, alinishika mkono akaniombea kura. Leo naitwa senator, naitwa deputy whip kwa sababu ya huyu mzee anaitwa Baba Raila Amolo Odinga. I want to say thank you, Your Excellency, kwa sababu nimeona vijana wenzangu wengine uliwafanyia ile kazi ulinifanyia. Leo hii wanasema wametosha, ati sasa wanaweza kupambana na Mheshimiwa Baba Raila Amolo Odinga. Mimi nimewaambia kama katibu mkuu wa chama, hata mkifanya hii ukora alafu ati 2026 mnajaribu kupata baba ati awasamee, baba atawasamea, lakini mimi kama bado ndio katibu wa chama sitakusamea. Wakati wanatoa certificate yako mimi nararua. Lazima tukumbushane ya kwamba mlikosea chama nini? Heshima. Kama Mheshimiwa Mbadi utakuwa bado wewe ni chairman wa chama, usikubali hao wakora ambao wanatumia chama chetu kuingia kwa nafasi alafu wanaanza kutukana chama.
Okay, we played a cluster of a lot of things there because we really want to be in time in calling it a day. But before that, let me just bring in this chart that, not a chart exactly, but just an overlay for us to closely look at what we started with. The government to sell KICC and 10 other state-owned companies, okay? That includes Kenya Pipeline. Remember the oil scandal? And now that Museveni is not using the pipeline to get his wherever oil from Kenya, Kenya Pipeline is for sale, KICC is for sale. And then there is Kenya Literature Bureau also is on sale. And of course, 7, I think 8 other companies. And the reason given is that they need to incorporate with the limited companies. Somebody's asking, Ruto alisoma business ama ni drop out? So I also want, maybe you went to school properly to help me out. When does a Parastatal become a limited company, and why should it be sold first in order for it to become a limited company? I would love to hear your take on the same, even as we begin to wind up. Thank you, everyone, for always being here and ensuring that we are here to see to it that Kenyans get right information in midst of lies, propaganda, and exaggerations. Yes. So a Parastatal needs to be sold first in order for it to become a limited company. Or what is cooking? What is in Kenya Pipeline that William Ruto wants? What is in KICC that William Ruto wants? What is in Kenya Literature Bureau that William Ruto wants? And then a cluster of other Parastatals. Thank you, everybody. Reverend, you can weigh on that even as we begin to wind up and call it a day.
Bernard, I want to to make a comparison, even though there's a difference. And I want to give the US experience when it comes to what I would call takeover or selling of shares from a company to the other. First of all, Ruto is trying to show that he's embracing the idea that Kenya is a free market, and we want to show the rest of Africa this is how things are done. You don't control anything, and I think that's the message behind it. But that is a fallacy, because even in the US, where there are private companies, when they are large, let's give you an example. Microsoft. Microsoft was in the business of acquiring others, controlling a big share of market. Congress said, no, you got to break up this company, and they were losing a lot of cases. Okay. In the turn of the century, the richest man on earth lived in the city where I am. Just a couple miles away was his house, called Rockefeller. He controlled what we call a company called the Standard Oil. He controlled entire, almost world oil. Okay. Company like ExxonMobil, all these other companies are a breakaway from Standard Oil. And why did he break that company? Because the government stepped in and said one man cannot have such power of control, of monopoly of everything. So the government had a say in him selling and breaking up his company, others. And that happened all the time. In other words, Congress has some powers and they exercise it to make sure that companies don't use tactics that monopolize or breach on security of the nation. In other words, the government watches and makes sure that things are done correctly. Now let's talk about Kenya. Ruto seemed to have power to simply say, I'm going to sell KICC and these other entities, these other parastatals, and he can just do it like that. Something is not right. When the parliament is toothless, cannot even say anything. So what we are seeing here is the absolute power. Sovereign power is not with wananchi if we let Ruto do what he's doing. He's supposed to be with us. What do we feel? Do we want to sell these things? We may want to sell it, but there is a process of doing it. First of all, Ruto does not have the mandate of the people. His seat as a president is suspect. Kenyans don't believe in him. So even in KICC, we don't know where the money is going, who is going to buy it. We don't know how it's going to be done. And so it is part of the looting spree, that this man is doing. So for me, I oppose it, whether it's the right legally for him to do it, but I don't think it is politically correct, and I don't think it's what Kenyans want. It's not what we, the people, want. And finally, I don't believe he's a legitimate person up there for me to support some of these actions that he's doing. So, and these are some of the reasons why we must save our nation. is selling that. What will stop him from selling you? Is selling Mombasa to some people. How do you know you're not being sold? And it's true. Think about it. Kenya was once a company, East India Company. That's what the West got it for. It was about the raw material. It was about the people. Okay? So whatever Ruto was doing with their blessing is a continuation of what they had originally in mind for a place like Kenya. I'm not trying to put the white Western people into it, but the mind wonders what is really going on here, because it's their darling. I don't know what happened with the ICC, whether it is gone, case closed. I don't know. And when you see the one leading the ICC was the one who was his lawyer, and then you start wondering what is really going on here. Kenyans, we are given a raw deal. This is a raw deal. This is a raw deal. And therefore, it is upon all of us to stand, even if it means going to Mandamana to stop KICC from being sold, because you don't know who's going to be your owner the next day. You don't know. And we have seen countries mutilated, ports being sold, big stuff being sold. And when they sell, it is sold. You don't own it. It belongs to somebody else. And you know what? We are not like maybe the West, the US and others that know the source of the money. They can tell you who is buying it, they investigate them. The process is long. Even for a company to change ownership in the US, the process is long. They got to vote. Sometimes they say no, and the switching of some of the stocks and others is a long process, because there's so many implications in when a business is being sold. Okay, government has a say in it. Okay, not just selling, my car company to the other car company. No, there are a lot of important facts that need to be made clear, and sometimes people do protest. We are invited sometimes to the White House to speak our voices, why we should allow that company to change hands. And these are private companies. Okay? So when Ruto is disposing of something that belongs to Wanjiko, to all of us, and then we have question about his legitimacy, the question is it a payment for these people who helped him steal the election? So it's a given Kenyatta KICC? Okay. The other Parastatals, is it a payment? Because we don't know. We have a lot of questions how this election was stolen. Okay. So we cannot afford to let this guy go on the rampage and destroy and sell, to people we don't know what we have. Lastly, we know that there's something called money laundering. Okay, you go to Mexico and other places, and places like Venezuela and others, they are warlords and drug dealers there. They have a chunk of dollar in the basement. They are hidden there. You can Google and see some of the money, and those money need some cleansing. And the only way is to, and they use the third world. I did a research, and I saw some of the money sometimes goes, and this money is the figuring how to get it into the market, into the system, because it's outside. For example, if I come with $1 million or 1,000 or 100,000, they have to ask me, where did you get this money? That's money laundering. They'll find out this money is from outside, and I want to explain how I got the money. And it is known that our leaders are used to put this money into the system. Either they come and buy coffee. Now, a friend of mine, they came and bought coffee. It came with $80 million US dollars to buy coffee. Okay, and that's the way to kind of get it in the system so that it's clean. After they buy coffee or something else, they are no longer drug dealers. Now they are legitimate businessmen. So these people will come and buy KICC. And after they buy their KICC, they are no longer dope dealers, because somebody will help them bring that dirty money in the system. It is happening in the third world. And that's why even election in the US, they want to know if you're a citizen. If you're not a citizen, you cannot donate. You cannot donate because you are influencing an election. If you are a illegal immigrant, you cannot. I had auntie of the US President Obama, and Zaituni. She lived in my house, and we wrote a check for $200 that she had donated to Obama campaign, and that almost derailed Obama campaign because she's not allowed to donate money because she was an illegal immigrant. She was not an American. So you cannot donate. So that the election, those who are elected by Americans, not foreigners. In Kenya, they get, Ruto and others get this underworld money. We don't know where this money came from. Being donated to churches every single weekend. We don't know the sources of that money. Could it have been the money given, as to buy our system? Could it be money from the underworld that they want to clean? And so now this man has a debt of these people. And so there are a lot of things we don't know as Kenyans. And the more we allow this to happen, the more we're going to sink. It is us to protect. We are this sovereign to protect our own country. Nobody's going to do it for us. And so it is critical for us not to let our beautiful KICC to go to dogs, because you don't know who's buying it. They get this money somewhere, and the same people gonna register a company out there and come and bid for it, and they drug money. Okay, and so you find a country that thrives on the drug money. So and Kenya is vulnerable because it's desperate. It's looking for resources. And so any money that comes in, they don't care right now. And we cannot do that. If we want a country that will be there tomorrow for our children, we got to fight for it. My fellow Kenyans, ndugu wenzangu, lazima tuondoe huu Ruto. Lazima tusimpatie wakati, tupatie nafasi kuuza Parastatals, because we don't know what's going on and we need to get rid of it. Asante, wacha kurudishie Mike.
Okay, asante sana, Reverend Lala. Thank you so much for your contributions and continued adding value to the show and helping Kenyans make sense of our senseless political decisions. Well, I want to salute everyone for your faithful support and continue to salute every one of you. We really value your input and your continued support for the channel. Thank you so much for participating into the polls. So far, we've had 16 votes on Sound Candid Talk Live and 15 likes. This one we did well in balancing, 16 votes, 16 likes. And then, of course, We are on the question, is the sale of Kenya's parastatals by Ruto in the interest of Kenyans? 12% say yes, 88% say no. This other side of Sound Candid Talk, 164 votes, 107 likes on the video. Is the sale of Kenya's parastatals by Ruto in the interest of Kenyans? 12% say yes, 88% say no. So there's a tie in every place. 12% say yes, 88% say no. And that shows that the majority of Kenyans are not with William Ruto, even in his decision to try and sell properties that belong to the government and, of course, to the public for that matter. Without the approval of the parliament, or the necessity of the approval of the parliament, because he has changed the law that required him to substantiate the reason why he wants to offset any of the parastatals individually. Now he has gotten a corporate node from the parliament that he can decide to sell anything, and he doesn't have to get scrutinized by the parliament, which in my opinion is a great letdown by this 13th parliament. It's a very sad day for Kenya, that the people we charged to be our watchdogs have been given a bone to chew, and therefore have let the thief get away with what they should be protecting. We are indeed in trouble as Kenyans, and that's why we need to rise up and say no to evil. Say no to William Ruto, say no to Kenya Kwanza administration. I salute due diligence. Thank you so much. Olara Abuya, thank you so much for always being here. We salute you. Joyce Peter, asante sana. He say Ruto became wealthy during Moi regime by grabbing government lands and selling them. He is in power to sell everything that belongs to Kenyans, but his children will face the consequences in the future. Huyo ni Joyce Peter akitoa maoni yake kwa masuala ya William Ruto. Sami Kambui, thank you so much. Give us 30 days notice for what I don't know. You will let us know. He can sell it to Uganda. We all move to Sahara Desert. Haya, tugoje tuone. Maera CK, thank you so much. I salute you. I appreciate your givings. Wamboi Jacobs, we don't act now. If we don't act now, Kenya and Kenyans will be sold. By the end of 5 years, yes, he won't have Kenya. May God help us. Very sad day. Harun, thank you so much for always being here. We appreciate you. Han UK, karibu sana, asante sana kwa kuwa hapa kila mara. George Mugambi, asante sana. Nashukuru kwa kuwa umekuwa sehemu ya kipindi na kila mara upo. Nashukuru tu sana. Tunapotamatisha kipindi, tukipenda tukuhimiza kwamba tuendelee kushiriki na vipindi tofauti ambavyo tunawaletea. Na wiki hii tutakuwa na vipindi tofauti wakati tofauti. Kwa hivyo tunakuomba umakinike kuvifuata kwa makini, naamini utamakinika. Bado niko na ile date yetu tulipanga kwamba nitaleta one of the presidential aspirant who was to be on the ballot but was denied by Jebukati to share with us what is his opinion about the Kenya state of the nation. I'll be engaging him in the course of this week. So tegea, kutakuwa na show maalum ya kumhoji na atatueleza mengi tu kuhusu nchi hii. Cha muhimu kuwa makini mahala pote ulipo, simama imara, tetea haki ya kila Mkenya na mambo yote yatanyooka. God bless you. Thank you so much. Let's meet in the next show, even as we engage further for the betterment of Kenya. A better Kenya requires better life for all Kenyans. God bless you.
Sound Candid Talk sasa imeboreshwa zaidi. Kila siku ya wiki asubuhi tunapambazuka na maabudu na sifa kwenye kipindi cha Daybreak Worship. Baadaye tunakuletea mahojiano ya moja kwa moja kwenye one-on-one show. Alafu tunakuletea taarifa zinazochipuka siku hiyo zikiwa ange kwenye In the News Headlines. Kisha tunaingia bungeni. Viongozi tuliowachagua tuangalie wanafanya nini bungeni.
On a daily basis, whenever the house is sitting, the order paper is here.
I take any work that I'm given very seriously.
Not have favors. Yes. It's not important because you come from Nyeri.
Kisha baadaye usiku tunakutana kwenye Open Forum Political Show, kipindi kinachotadavua na kufafanua makala na taarifa zinazokuhusu zaidi.
Sasa hii ndiye time ya kuweka kila mtu question mark one by one. Ruto tumeshaweka question mark ya kutosha.
Umeenda mpaka umevuka border, umeanza kudanganya watu wenye wako US na nchi zingine.
Kazi ya kiongozi ni kuhakikisha ya kwamba vijana wako kazi.
Tazama Sound Candid Talk uelemike. Tukutane Sound Candid Talk.